does everybody see this? Now, again, do you think that this is one of the great religions that Satan is using to bring about a great deal of deception? Now, brothers and sisters, when persons are partaking of these sports, now, do you think that they are about to stop and have a word of prayer? Is that why they're doing this? Is this why Ray Lewis is running across the field to hit this man? It's because he wants to kneel and have a word of prayer. Now, when you are running and hitting somebody like this, what happens to both individuals in their brain? They get something called a concussion. Now, do you think that it is possible to be in a proper physical, spiritual, and mental state while partaking of these realities? Well, somebody says, well, it's not that serious. It's just entertainment. But again, what was the first thing that Jesus warned against as it related to his second coming? Deception. Let's turn in our Bibles to the book of Philippians. Let's turn in our Bibles to the book of Philippians. And this is, again, just a logical question, especially if we're serious about being prepared spiritually for the second coming of Christ. Who here, by show of hands, believes that Jesus would be partaking in these types of activities when you're running across the field, giving other people concussions? Notice what the Bible says in the book of Philippians. Philippians chapter 2. Notice what the Bible says in Philippians chapter 2. Now, is everybody following the sequence? Everybody following this? Philippians chapter 2. Notice what the Bible says in verse 3. Actually, we'll start in verse number 2 for the sake of context. It says, fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same hatred, the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. It says in verse 3, let nothing be done through strife nor vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than them what? Better than themselves. Now, by default, when you're partaking of these type of activities, is it in a state of joy and happiness and tranquility? No, it's being done through strife and contention. Now, this is not as a means to arbitrarily condemn anyone participating in these activities. But again, do you think that we are going to be doing these types of things, running on the field, cursing and doing all of this when we get to heaven? No, we're not. So the question is just this very simply. If we're not going to be practicing these things in heaven, why are we practicing them on the earth? Isn't that a good question? Now, again, this is not saying that there is anything evil about throwing a ball and shooting a basketball. But once you start to incorporate this type of spirit, do you think that this brings in a bad influence? Yes, it does. This says the NFL is a brutal sport. That's partly why fans love it. Can you imagine? And so many times they make literal highlight videos of players running on the field getting massive concussions, to the point where some of them are so knocked out that they completely black out. And when they wake up, they have no idea where they are. And the fans are cheering it on. Has anybody ever heard of the Coliseum Games? Anybody ever heard of a movie called Gladiator with Russell Crowe? Now, in those Gladiator Coliseum Games, when those gladiators were killed, did they get back up and do it over again? What happened? You died. Now, even though these persons aren't necessarily dying on the field, do you think that it is that same type of spirit of enjoying the suffering and bloodletting of our fellow human beings? Yes, it is. Now, again, do you think that all of this degradation is a part of the fruit of the Spirit? No, it is not. Let's turn our Bibles to the book of Galatians. Because again, family, God is seeking to emphasize a point. If we're going to be spiritually prepared for the second coming in light of these last days, do you think that we need to be purified of these corruptions? Yes, we do. Galatians chapter 5. Notice what, again, the sacred volume says in Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5, in contrast to the lust of the flesh, in verse number 22. Galatians 5 in verse number 22, it's those epistles there in the New Testament. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no what? And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another and doing what? So again, if this is going to be the state that we experience in heaven, do you think that we need to practice these things here on the earth? Yes, we do.